So,
Right.
Len McNab.
Yeah.
Yeah. When were you born, Len?
29th of the 6th, 1920.
1920. And where was that?
A place called Palmer's Green, North London.
Was it already part of London then, or was it its own?
Oh yes, it's part of London.
Yeah.
On the outskirts, still part of London.
And you went to school there?
Yeah.
So when did you leave school?
Age of 14. I left on the Friday.
Yeah.
Started work on the Monday.
And where was your first job?
My first job was with the Vacuum Brake Company, which is an American firm for the Pullman coaches.
Yeah.
An apprentice as a fitting.
Fitting. And where was that based?
King's Cross.
At the station?
Well,
did
in
they
the
ever-
work. They've got works there, and they're just outside King's Cross. There's a big marshalling yard and
Yeah.
the fitting places and all that there.
So there were two, the King's Cross and St Pancras side by side.
Yeah,
One served the London and North East.
that's right.
And what did King's Cross serve?
That served Scotland, London, Scotland.
Oh, right. So, but you were actually with this American...
Yeah, American firm, Vacuum Brake Company.
Did you have to pull any strings to get an apprenticeship in those days, or was it a case of...
Well, I'd got a brother working on the railway, and it was through him I got the job, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But because there were so many jobs in them days,
Yeah.
David. I mean, every butcher had a butcher's boy, every milkman had a milkman's boy, every shop had a delivery boy, and the young people, plenty of work for them, but when you got above 21,
Yeah.
then the work diminished. And
yeah.
I don't know whether it's the same in your day, but in those days, if you finish your apprenticeship and you were articled, you got the sack.
Yeah.
And it was just like that.
Well, I know why that happened, but perhaps you can just tell us why that used to happen.
Well, because unlike today, your wages go up as an apprentice till you reach the normal level.
Yeah.
In those days, it didn't. I started at 8 and 3pence a week. And when I decided to, I didn't think a lot to this apprenticeship because all my mates was earning £1 a week or perhaps more. What was I, 17?
Yeah.
I decided to go and get another job.
So if you'd have stayed on and finished your apprenticeship, you were on 8 and 3pence a week, and you'd be on that for 5 years.
No. It went up. I think when I finished, when I came away at 17, I think I was on about 12 and 6 then.
Right. But yeah, it's not still. And if when at 21, you'd have got your indentures.
Yes, and then you finish.
Yeah.
Because
they'd have to put you on
They
full break.
put you on full wage, and then they've got other apprentices coming up,
Yeah.
and they were doing the work. But
Yeah. Well, towards the end there, you're doing
It-
the journeyman's
well,
job, aren't you?
well, I was doing. I was at 17. What they were
Yeah.
fitters were doing,
Yeah.
under supervision, of course, but I was doing the job.
Yeah.
You know, and that was just one of those things that got me. I wasn't getting paid for it, you know. So
So you left. That was in 1937.
37, yeah.
Yeah. By now you were 17. I mean, you left school at 14. Haven't
Yeah.
You? Kids are 14 today.
Well,
They're
as
still
I
kids, aren't they?
My great grandchild is 13, and I saw him this year. And I looked at him, I thought to myself, God, he'd been going to work in a year's time.
Yeah.
Because we were taught we were growing up, which we weren't,
Yeah.
but the world made you grow up, you know.
Yeah. Who's that? Who's your grandson?
Richard.
Richard.
Mm.
Yeah. See, when you left school at just a little bit more than Richard's age, you were going out bringing a wage home to your mum and dad, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that important? Were you? I mean, how
Yes, it was
many were in your
important.
family?
Although my father
Yeah.
had a good job, but it all went in the pub.
Oh, right.
I mean, there were 6 of us, and he used to give my mother £2 a week, and the rent was 10 shillings.
And where were you in the family? 6?
Oh, I was the bottom.
You were the
I was the one that got spoiled. Well, I did, because when they started to go to work, things were easier for me than what they were for them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But you waged, when you came home with your money, you'd still give your mum and dad.
Oh yeah, you give them a wage packet, you see.
What, a whole lot?
Oh, give it to your mum, yeah. Always give you a wage packet up. And she used to give me 2 and 6 to spend, and 2 shillings bus fare.
Right.
So let's do what, 3 and 9 or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. And that'd be your spendo for the week, 2 and 6.
Yeah, 2 and 6.
Were you smoking then, isn't that?
Oh yeah.
Were you?
Oh, because today as they go for drugs,
yeah.
as kids, when you were about 13, you used to be back to the toilets having a quick puff, you know. Because it was all your films, everything was involved with. They weren't active, they hadn't got a cigarette in them.
Because there wasn't the health scare then, was there?
No,
no one
it was
used to
just
talk
an
about
actual.
it.
Yeah. But people still dying of lung cancer and things like that, and they just took
know.
it as normal
Yeah.
way of dying.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So by the time you got to be 17, you'd been working for 3 years.
Yeah. And I went from there and I went and got a job in a chromium plating place, stripping off metals, you know, accidents and that, you know, headlamps.
Oh, right.
Strip them off and then pass them through the...
Mm-hmm.
I lasted that for about 9 months. And then Ferguson's radio people opened a factory about 3 miles from where I live. Well, I was doing 8 mile a day to King's Cross.
Yeah.
And of course, I went and applied for a job there. I started off with 25 shillings a week.
From 12 and 6 to 25?
No, I'd gone to the chromium platers.
All right.
I started there at 17 and 6 a week. See?
Yeah.
And then I went to 25 a week. And I could go there on my bike. Well, I used to go to the other place on my bike, but it used to take me an hour and a half, you know, more or less.
What, take an hour and a half on your bike?
Yeah.
There and an hour and a half back?
Yeah.
Crikey, Bob.
And because I could get Ferguson in a quarter of an hour.
Mm. Yeah.
And it was assembly work, easy, there was music on all the time. And did a lot of people go there? Was it mostly young lads or was it women and lads? Oh no, mostly women.
Was it mostly women?
Mostly women. Mostly women on the assembly lines making the actual sets.
Mm-hmm.
Then they went through the testers, and once they were tested, they passed through to us and we boxed them up and put them in cartons and things. Just labouring work, you know.
This was Ferguson's back in the 1930s, so...
Yeah. Now, it was Ferguson, it was American.
Mm.
And just before the war started, I could see it now, big thing in the paper like this, saying, Ferguson's are giving all their workers a week's holiday with pay.
Yeah.
Unheard. I'd been there 11 months, I got the sack. They called me, and then a month later they sent me a letter to go start back again. So you'd never done 12 months. It was only the foremans and that who got there.
But that was what they used to do, was
Yeah.
it? Lay you off?
Yeah. He said, no argument, because it used to peter out after. You work like anything, say, from September to March for the Christmas orders and things like that.
Yeah.
Then it slackened off. And then we're getting ready for the new models coming out. So no argument about it. Although we all thought it was a big laugh. We've got to get this on the same, but yeah, Hollywood pay them. God. But my first paid holiday I got was in 1948.
Good grief.
First paid holiday I got.
Because it wasn't the done thing then. If you wanted a holiday, you had to take it.
Oh yeah.
You could join the holiday club though, couldn't you? There were holiday clubs.
Well, we didn't have one.
No.
Well, we worked on a basic wage and bonus. We averaged about £8.50 a week. week, something like that, over the 3 weeks, worked 3 shifts, you see.
Mm.
But when we got this holidays pay, we got just the basic £3.17 and 6. We were about £5 out.
Yeah.
You couldn't win in them days.
Yeah.
I think this is the reason why they had to have unions.
Yeah.
Well, I was never union-minded myself, but
We're going back to Ferguson's, did they have a union? Was
oh
it?
no unions, very few unions in them days.
Yeah.
And they weren't any good anyway. I think printers and people like that, they've got
Yeah.
a very good union as well. Theirs was really strong.
Mm.
But otherwise, no.
Yeah. So you were on assembly and packing work in?
For Ferguson's. Yeah.
For wirelesses. Was it?
Well, no, we were doing televisions, no.
They must have been some of the first televisions.
Yeah, 1938.
My goodness.
1938, making television, screen on that.
Yeah.
And he had a big radiogram.
Yeah.
Their top model, a big radiogram which was radiogram, and then the actual screen was in the lid. Flipped the lid up, and there was a screen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. So they
And it
made
was projected from inside the actual radio.
Oh, it projected up to
Up to this little screen, yeah.
Oh, right. So it was like a mirror. On
Yeah,
the
that's
inside.
right, yeah. Mirror effect, yeah. Because
You know,
then I got called up and went into the army.
You got called up. You didn't volunteer then.
Oh, no. No. Oh. Got called up, went into the army.
How did it happen? Did you like your street got hit or with
No.
call-up papers, or was it a certain
you
age?
had to, at a certain age, you had to go and register
18.
at the Labour office, anybody over 18. And then they called you up in
Yeah.
bunches, you know.
Yeah.
And I went to a place called Blandford
All right.
to do my training.
Dorset. is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
From there we went to,
Were you recruited into a branch or a regiment straight away?
oh yeah, Royal Artillery.
Royal Artillery.
Yeah, anti-aircraft.
Yeah. But you had no choice in that, did you? I mean, or was
Oh,
it a
no.
case of just
When you went for selection, they asked you what you wanted to go in, and I just said, well, not bothered really, all the same.
Hmm.
But and there were people that wanted to go in the Air Force, people wanted to go in the Navy. We all finished up in. It's dependent on what was going on for the time.
Yeah.
You see, they just come out of Europe,
Hmm.
and they wanted anti-aircraft defence. So we went in. They were calling them up to go in the anti-aircraft defence.
Let's see, what year was this you were called up?
Hmm?
What year was it you were called up? With 38?
No, 1940.
1940? Right. Yeah.
Mm.
So Dunkirk had been and gone.
Been and gone, yeah. And because at that time, this is when they wanted people for anti-aircraft
Mm.
training, for defence of. So,
Because then, back then, 1940, it was the dark days, wasn't it? There was
yeah.
no sign of
Oh, no.
of our coming through.
And I got called up in September the 3rd.
Mhm.
They started bombing, really bombing, about a fortnight beforehand.
Down in London, you mean?
Yeah, really belting.
Mm.
As far as I can remember, I mean, it's a long while back, you know. And in one way, I was pleased to get out of London,
Yeah. That's right.
because, you know,
Was there much bombing of around Palmer's Green area, or?
oh yes, had their fair share.
Mhm.
I mean, at the back of us there was a starting of a golf course. And they got attack guns on there, and I think
Mhm.
they'd done more damage with vibration than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What, the attack guns?
yeah. Because the houses we went in were built in 1935, 36 I think it was. Wimpies. Because they were thrown up, you know. Now they throw things up, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, then. And the tiles were interlocking. You know, if one come off, you've got a bit of wind, the whole lot will come off.
Yeah.
You know. So there was quite a bit of damage with, and then you got your flat coming down where the
Mhm.
empty.
Shell cases.
Well, not shell, bullet casing more or less, cannon cases. You know.
Mhm.
And when they're coming down, it if they joined, it'd be straight through, you know.
Mm. Had any of your brothers been called up before you?
No, I was the only one to go.
Well,
Oh no, my youngest, one next to me, he was backward, and he went in. He should never have gone in. He was in about 3 months, and they rejected him. So.
He was older than you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But how many, you had brothers older than you, didn't you?
Yeah, another brother. My other brother was a driver on the railway.
So he's exempt?
Oh, he was exempt, yeah.
Yeah.
But he got blown off his train.
Did he?
Yeah. Well, practiced fine. Yeah.
So you're the only one that actually got called up and went?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was Royal Artillery training at
That I went
Blanford.
into first, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the first month, all we did was drills, which is an entirely different thing when you went with Wingo. He didn't believe in them.
Mm.
He said he could spend more time learning how to kill because marching and saluting won't save your life. And that was his whole idea.
Mm-hmm. It's some time before you got to Wingate, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because I went into ACAC. Well, then they wanted people for radar. Me working for Ferguson's, I went on this radar course and I went into radar.
Yeah.
And I was on radar right up until I went into Chindits.
Mm-hmm. So they trained you on early, that was very early radar, wasn't it?
Oh yes, first off of our radar we got, you know, you couldn't tell they were coming that way or this way.
Mm.
It could be 180 degrees out. And then you come up with the idea of the reflector aerial,
Yeah.
one behind the other like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get onto the...
Of course, this was top secret, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The Germans never did know how far
Yeah.
ahead we were on radar.
Mm.
Did you ever do any work with the boffins on this, or were you?
No, I was only operating like, you know.
Yeah, you weren't involved in any trials. Or
Oh no,
things?
no. Nothing like that. The only trials I had was when they first put radar in night fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in line in Bristol, when they raided Bristol. We were at Avonmouth, that's up, which got a hammering, because that's where all the old petrol tanks and that were.
Oh yeah.
And we were picking them up, and inside the plane they got a small screen about that size, gridded, and we used to put them in by bearing and range, and they keep on that bearing until they picked it up themselves. Then in the centre was around like that.
Mm.
But when they got because it's only a blimp like this that goes up, you know. When they got the blimp in the centre there, then they opened fire, because that's when they got the on target.
Because they couldn't see any of this. It was all
No, because
done
this has been done perhaps, quarter-mile distance in the dark, you know. So
What kind of aeroplanes were they?
I think they were using Beaufighters,
Bristol Beaufighters.
yeah, and also Hurricanes. No, not Hurricanes.
Tempests.
Beaufighters, and what was the wooden one? There was a wooden one they had.
Mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes, yeah.
Yeah.
Of
And were
course
you
they-
actually based with the aircraft, or were you somewhere else? Were you
Oh, we were somewhere else,
yeah,
but we had an RAF chap with us.
coordinator?
Yeah, he was on in touch by wireless, and you know.
Mm-hmm. So how long were you doing that for then? Was that?
Not all that long actually.
It wasn't a big part of your military service then.
No, not really. I might have been I was on radar for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But when the bombing eased in over England, we got injected and or examined and all that for overseas.
Mm-hmm.
We set off from Glasgow. I think it was end of January, beginning of February. And when they weren't up there, they were down there, this convoy.
Mm-hmm.
And we was on a ship called the Orion, I think it was called.
The Orion.
Orion, SS Orion, I think it
That would have been a liner, wouldn't
That's
it?
right. Oh yeah.
They were built in Barrow, you know, at my hometown.
Yeah.
Orion and Oriana.
Yes. Yeah. Which one was? Yeah.
P&O group.
Yeah.
But this would be all painted up in camouflage.
Oh yeah, it's all camouflage and everything in tore out and all, you know. Well, they weren't bumps; they were hammocks, you know, hooks.
Yeah. Did you have to sleep in relays? Or you had your own bed, did you?
Oh no, you had your own spot at first, but then after picking up survivors.
Well, because you were in a convoy.
Yeah.
And as you were going down to...
Yeah, we weren't allowed to stop, but the Navy was picking up survivors and they transferred them to different ships because, you know...
So you set off from Glasgow, the Clyde, in January, winter anyway.
Either the end of January and beginning of February, I'm not quite sure, it's a long while ago.
You didn't know where you were going though, did you?
Oh no.
Did you have a clue? Did you think it was going to be...
Well, we thought we was more or less guaranteed we were going to Singapore.
Yeah.
That's where we were destined for.
Yeah.
But at one point it was off the coast of America, so we were off Canada. Oh, go to Canada, you know. No such luck. And then we finally went to Freetown. That's Sierra Leone. And from there we went to Cape Town.
When did you have the worst trouble with the submarines? When were they most active?
Oh, about 2 days out.
On the Atlantic leg?
Yeah. I mean, once we'd got...
Because you were travelling in a liner like that, you'd be travelling quite fast, wouldn't you?
No, you kept at convoy speed.
Oh.
Oh no, you kept convoy speed.
Right. So I remember reading somewhere that the Queen Mary could outrun the...
Well, we picked up, when we were, as I say, went to Cape Town. No, we've been on board 11 months. 11 weeks, sorry, not months. And obviously we're taking on survivors. They got no kit, so you shared your kit, you know, that sort of thing. And we landed at Cape Town. And it took us in lorries to a big field. There was 2 big marquees in this field. That's all it was. And they were for meals.
Oh, right.
And we started putting up tents and that. And we were there about 6 weeks. Then they transferred. We went by train to Johannesburg, and Johannesburg to Durban. We then trained from Durban to India, landed at Bombay.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, while we off the coast of Canada, Singapore fell, and they really didn't know what to do with us. They just floating us about.
All right. So you'd left the Royal Artillery, and what?
No, still in the Royal
Artillery.
Oh yes.
You volunteered for this, didn't you? You didn't have to go on an overseas posting.
No. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. Oh no. You went compulsory. I went with the whole unit. You went with the unit, and you're still in the army. Although you're on radar.
Yeah.
They called us GL operators, gun lane operators.
Right.
Because of the information we fed them, this was fed to the guns.
So you were heading out to Singapore when Singapore fell.
Fell, that's right.
They didn't know what to do.
Didn't know what to do, just floating around sort of thing, you know. And because we knew Singapore had fell, because when we got off the coast of Canada, what? Because we come down from Canada to America, and then we went off back, and as I say, went to Africa, and South Africa, then to India. Got to India, I was stationed on the Bombay racecourse then. I was on there for quite a while. Then we moved up to Calcutta, other side of Calcutta. Then went to Cox's Bazaar, which is getting up towards the front. But by this time we got air superiority and we weren't needed. What was happening, this is the reason why I volunteered really. is that they were just chopping us up and putting us in any unit, you know. And this came up, they wanted volunteers for a special job, didn't know what the job was. So me and my mate said, well, because what was happening, they putting most of them in the infantry. We didn't fancy the infantry, so we volunteered this, because we was in the infantry. But we kept our gunners. We were still gunners.
Yeah.
We never.
You kept your RA badges, did you?
Oh yeah.
When,
And I also kept our trade pay for being radio operators. Now, if we'd have gone into the infantry, we'd have lost that. And I think it was about 9p a day. But in those days, 9p a day was money.
But when you volunteered, you say you volunteered with a friend?
Yeah, Bill Chapman. We've been together for 3.5 years, you know.
Would you say he's your closest
Oh yes,
friend?
definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So you decided to do it together?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we decided.
And what did it just appear on the notice board one day? Volunteers required for hazardous duty. How did
No,
they
it didn't say
describe
had
it?
you. So they said special force was required, and we're looking for 12 volunteers from this unit. Now, talk it over amongst yourself and see what you think. And if we get more than 12 volunteers, we'll stand them down according to what they require, what's required. You know, whether their job was more important, say, the cook's job,
Yeah.
which ours at this time wasn't important because we've got air supervisors and I've never seen any jet planes. And so off we went. Then
And did you know who was running the show at that time?
nothing at all.
You
We
just-
didn't even know what it was for or anything. Just a special job.
And where did you go first? Where did they take you?
Well, they sent us, they give us what do they call them now, for the railway, a warrant for the railway for a place. Well, apparently there's 2 of these places. One was in the United Provinces, and one was in Assam. Well, because we was already at Cox's Bazaar that way, so obviously we thought it was Assam, so nobody wouldn't know anything about us or anything. And we were like lost souls for about a week.
Because you got to the wrong place.
Eh?
You gone to the wrong place.
Yeah.
Then they finally worked out there was another one. Can you remember the name of the posting?
I think Jezet or something like that. But it was it was where they'd done the jungle training in India. And
So when just the 2 of you travelling with?
oh no, there was 12 of us.
All right.
12 of us.
And you'd all gone down this place, and you had to go to the.
Oh yeah, because nobody knew what we wanted, what they wanted us for.
Who was the? So at that time, just talking about rank for a minute. What rank were you at this time?
I was a gunner.
You were gunner. So who was there? Was there a sergeant in charge of you?
No, it was a
12?
corporal.
Corporal. Yeah. So he
It was actually.
He tried and sort it out.
We just followed on, you know. We thought it was a bit of a joke, actually. We enjoyed it. Nobody tell us what to do. And anyway, finally got there, and obviously where you've been, you know. And there was all sorts there, you know, all different regiments, Black Watch, Darmlodge Infantry, Sherwood Foresters, all, you know, all mixed up. And we had an interview, went in one by one for this interview, and it's off the signal table, he says, Len McNab, I says, he says, can you walk 3 miles? So I said, yeah. He says, in full pack? So I said, yes. Oh, good, he says. That was it. That was the interview that I got. And we sort of fluffed around a bit. And then they gave us a lecture. That we were going into the jungle as a special force, which needed training because it's different to any other type of fighting. And old Wingate, he came. Mad as a March he was. Big beard.
Colonel Wingate was the brigadier. General Wingate.
He went in as a brigadier when the first time they went in, because it was called long range penetration then. Didn't become a Chindits till it was all over more or less. I think it was more or less the media that called us Chindits, and it was adopted, I think.
Where did they get the word Chindit from?
Well, this is the mythical lion, and they're called chins. Chins.
Yeah.
And pagoda that, and because they shortened it to Chindit.
Right.
So in actual way it should have been Chind.
Chindit.
So they shortened it Chindit.
So what year was this then that you were...
1944, I think.
1944, you were at this posting that was the training camp.
Yeah. We spent about I don't think it was 3 months, perhaps a couple of months there.
What I mean, it was specialised training because you
had
familiarised yourself with the jungle
well,
warfare.
For a start, then we had to go and fetch mules. And
Mules?
yeah.
Did you know you were going to have to work with animals when you...
No. All I knew is I could walk 3 miles with a pack on my back. And we went to Bombay to pick these mules up, and they come from South America, I think. They're all different sorts. Well, when they unloaded them off the boat, they were stiff, could hardly move. We would tie them up. You know, on the dockside, there's these railings. We tie them to these railings. Well, you know, once they felt their feet, they were off. There were bloody mules flying everywhere, and you going. And we loaded it when we finally got as many as we could. We were loading them into trucks, and we only travelled at night. And during the day, you used to stop by a water tower, keep pushing the backwards and forward under water tower to cool the cool the trucks down. Then we travelled at night.
Yeah.
And there were 6 mules in the truck, 6 muleteers. My first introduction that I knew was going to be a muleteer was when they got on these docks. I didn't know what I was going to do. And they'd been training you how to survive.
Yeah.
And if it moved, you could eat it, more or less.
Yeah. Did you have to do that in your training? Eat lizards and...
No, not in training. It was just part that, you know. So you always went together in twos. You never went on your own. If you left, say to go to the toilet, and you went in the jungle, your mate always went with you. And you just dug a hole and filled it in.
Were you still with your mate, Bill?
Oh yeah, still with him.
What was his name, Bill?
Bill Chapman.
Chapman. Okay.
He was older than I. He'd been in the lifeguards. He had.
He'd be a big tall fella then.
Oh yeah. Oh, no.
How tall were you at that time? Can you remember?
5'8.5".
5'8.5".
Not now. Got shrunk. About 5'6.5", I think. And well, it wasn't all bad times. You know, you had good times and all. You know. Funny times. You'd be surprised what the soldier can get up to when he's not being watched. I remember one Christmas time, and I think this was in 1944, and the RSM, it was the old RSM big. Well, apparently he got drunk, somebody shaved one side off. God, I bet if he'd have found who'd done it. It's obviously got to be one of the sergeants, because they were the sergeant less than that. If he'd have found him, I'm sure they'd killed him. Well, we now about 40 years ago. He looks ever so funny. Because I couldn't help laughing. Why are you laughing at? Well, Christmas night.
Did you have concert parties come out and entertain you?
No, we never did. No. Yeah, we did have real income after we came out. When we came out, the hospital I was in, she came there, and I had a Japanese fine 5 rupee note, and she signed that. And a couple of years ago, I was in a pub with a friend of mine, and this publican got all these different in photo frames all the way around, different
notes
and I sent it to him. I let him have it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had a set. I sent a set.
What did you have? What else did you have? Oh, different. They're not currencies.
Different, yeah. They used to print their own, you know.
Yeah.
Because we one place we think it was Malware or something like that. Anyway, we caught them unawares, and in the lorry there was a printing press. Well, you can imagine what the lads were doing, can't you? Yeah, they printed their own money and bought things with it. Now, I think if they'd have honoured that thing, they'd have probably had the population with them. But as it was, they were buying things with this money, and then the Japanese wouldn't honour it, you know. I mean, you had to go and perhaps buy a watch. When they wouldn't take this to the banks, wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
Because consequently, there was a lot of shopkeepers and everything were out of business over this, whereas if they had kept them and honoured the money, because in the first place the British wasn't very well liked out there. They all wanted their freedom. A lot of good it done when they got it, but
Well, are you talking about? You were still in India when you were being trained. When?
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've jumped the gun, you know. As I was saying, there's different things happening, you know. And when we done this got the mules, and the chap on the horse, he was a major in charge of all the horse transport. That chap there.
Right.
And he stopped on the horse as long as he could. He did going up and down the column. Come on, you all. And we were in columns of what, perhaps 500 people, 500 in a column. And as a muleteer, fortunately, you didn't do such things as guard duties. Didn't do any guard duties, and he was never on. I can't think of the name what they called it now. Anyway, he's about 50 yards in front of everybody else, two of you. No. Can't think of a name, got a name for it.
Because you had to take care of the animal as well as
Yeah.
your soldierly duties.
Yeah. Yeah, and you see, when it come to rest periods, all the infantry just flopped down, that was it.
Yeah.
But as a muleteer, because mule came first, you came second.
That was what you were taught, was it?
Oh, always that. I mean, when you get air drops, the first thing coming out was fuel, hay and feed for the
mules.
For the mules.
Yeah.
And they were dropped out as dead weight, no pose, it just a point, that was the name I was trying to think of. We didn't do point duty.
Right.
We didn't do guards. That was two advantages.
Did you have any training to be a muleteer, or did they just say, you said the first you knew about it, you turned up at the port to pick up a mule?
That's right, yeah.
Did you have any training after that?
No,
Huh?
not actual training. I think we were all scared, because we've heard about mules used to kick, and they did used to kick. And of course everybody's a bit upset. Mule. And because you've got different sized mules. I mean, the big mules are called AT mules, and they're more like Shires.
AT?
80 they call those. 80 mules.
80.
A for Adam,
Yeah.
T for Tommy. And they were the big mills. They carried the batteries and the wireless sets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the batteries were quite large, you know, because you had to have a big mill.
Mm.
And I was carrying ammunition mostly. And you'd got your ammunition boxes, 2 each side. And when we first went in, we took some bullocks with us for fresh meat.
Right.
But you know, after the first, well, say the second day, they wouldn't get up. And the only way you could get them up was to light a fire under their backside and then move them and just flop down again. So in the end, I left them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I left them behind.
How did you get from the training
Oh, right.
quarters up to
Yeah,
Burma?
We finished the training and we had a Beano, you know. I think we got 2 bottles of beer.
Yeah.
And it was Indian beer. It was called Murray. Ooh, it was horrible. But we drank it. And
Did Wingate come to that? Was he there to the for the send off or
oh yeah, he was assembly here. Assembly.
speech?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a load of ball, you know. But it's one thing about him and all our officers as well. They wouldn't ask you to do what they would do themselves and show you how to do it. So we had great respect for her.
Right.
Although there were no insignias or anything like that. Everybody's dressed the same. The only different way you could tell the officer from the men was that hats they wore, instead of had it as a basher, they had it round inside, you know, sort of made it round. I think you can see what on that, on the vet there, I think he's got one on.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chap there with his veterinary, 2 of them together, and that was the medical supplies he's got there. And is his hat got a round crown instead of a...
Yes.
That's right, yeah. That's the only difference you could tell.
The officers had a round crown and the men had a...
Just the ordinary, and soldiers. But, of course, we all know our officers, every one of them.
Because of course you wouldn't want them to be
Well, no,
insignia.
it's I mean, the same thing. Now, the Japanese officer, he was dressed up like he was going to do a stage screen, you know.
Yeah.
Polished boots and... Oh, that's it, that's...
Yeah.
He was the first bloke who copped it.
Had you seen any Japanese at this point when you were just...
No, hadn't seen any. Only characters of them, and they were bow-leg glasses
Mm.
and forage cap, little chaps. The first one I saw was about 6 bloody foot. The first actual one I saw, yeah.
When you were... this is
Well,
later
then,
on.
well, from the training camp, we went by train up to, I think it's called Sylhet. I'm not sure it's called Lido or Sylhet. I'll get mixed up with those two. I think it was Sylhet, which was the end of the rail.
Mm.
Well, then we started off down, yeah, it was Sylhet because it was called the Lido Road. We started down the road what Slim was building.
Mm.
And I think it was about 3 days marching down the road till we turned off into the jungle.
How do you... Sylhet is S-A-L-E-T.
S-Y.
S-Y. And leader...
L-E-L-W-D-O, I think it was called. Because don't forget these are foreign names.
Yeah, this is the English spelling of what
Yeah.
Burmese name.
Yeah.
And you see, you travel on the railroad, or
Yes, to the railhead, as far as we could go.
yeah,
And I'm pretty sure it was Sylhet.
and then you disembarked,
Disembarked.
and started on the leader road.
They started down the Leader Road for about 3 days.
Yeah,
and then we went into the jungle.
At this point, you were on the Allied side of the lines.
Yeah.
The Japanese were further up, were they?
Yeah.
But you just got off the
Well,
train.
it was.
Got off the road and
I went in, yeah.
in the jungle.
Yeah. And because everybody's got the idea that Burma is jungle. It's not. There is very. I mean, where we went in, it was about as wide as this room when we went in. But after a while, it get narrower and narrower and narrower. And we came to a settlement of Nagas. They were very primitive people. Nagas. And they were using bows and arrows and spears, they were. You know. And
were they friendly to you?
oh yeah, they were. We had a lecture there whereby that if perhaps you had to sleep in one of the villages, because they're up on stilts and the bashes off, and as a guest you slept farthest away from the door, then the wife, then the children, and the old man just sleep by the door. And we all warned penalty would be death if you touched anything.
Any of the women?
Because we were imagining women, well, when you saw them, if you paid them, I mean, they were practically nude.
Yeah.
And,
but they weren't enticing at all.
oh God, no. But because we didn't sleep in the village. But that's what we were. And they used to pay the Nagas a rupee for 2 ears, Japanese ears. Yeah. And they used to come in with a stick with some ears on them. Because they were silver rupees of Edward and Victoria, early Victorian origin, which were pure silver.
Yeah.
And they used them for ornaments, to make ornaments, things like that.
Yeah, it's pure silver, so it was a standard currency.
Yeah. And part of our job was also digging and marketing on the map, not made up, I mean it's part of the comms job, for escape things for Allied Air Forces, shot down and anything like that, you know. And they were radioed back, you know, locations and you sort of leave money, map, various things, you know, food, usually K rations because they were in, which we had.
What time of year was this?
When we went in, March, March.
What's that like in terms of climate?
Very hot.
When's the monsoon? When does that start?
About 3 months later we got started the monsoons.
So it was quite agreeable at first. It was hot, but
you see, where it was, on the border of Assam or India and Burma, it's all hills, all the way like this. Because when you got to this bit of a village, after we got there, from there, there's just animal tracks sort of thing. And you're bringing in through mules, which laden are out here somewhere like two, especially the 18 mules, the big ones. And it's been, you just take it in turns, doing 10 minutes chopping back the jungle. In one particular day, we was a whole day and we hadn't done a mile. And everybody was exhausted by
cutting your way through.
Your way through.
Were you still with Bill Chapman at this time?
Oh yeah. The only time, well, that comes later about when he went.
But you were both together and you both had your own mules, did you?
Yeah.
And you were doing this
and you got
recceing.
You got that mules become your pets, you know.
Yeah.
And they recognised you and they recognised the order they were in. You couldn't take a mule out there and move it up 3 places because he wouldn't have it.
Do they all have different characters?
Well, I don't know. I think it get used to the
Yeah.
behind you front sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. And there again, that was another thing that was handy for us. When you're going up hills, you could they'd either push you with their head in your back of your pack, help you up. Then when you're going down hills, you held onto their tail, so you went down the way. Because we were carrying quite a lot of weight, you know. We're carrying. You've got 50 silver rupees in a body thing, and they quite heavy when you get 50 of them. And you got 100 rounds of ammunition. You got 4 grenades, and we got Sten guns. And then your pack, got the ordinary pack, and then 2 ammunition pouches each side. Well, one was for your soap and stuff like that, and the other one's for, and all the rest was for food. And we were being supplied by Dakotas, airdrops.
Yeah.
But the more we went into the jungle, the worse it became, because when they'd done the airdrops, they knew where you were. So, you know, you had to skittle out pretty quick.
So you were moving further into the jungle
All the time.
further behind Japanese
Yeah.
lines.
Yeah, I think it was about, we got a final destination was about 600 miles, I think. But our main object was to open up airstrips. Because up to this point, anybody injured or sick, all they could do was put them on a horse, which had like a frame round, at least a low like that, in the frame.
Yeah.
And it was essential to get an airstrip so they could get supplies, and also, and altogether there was 3 built, and if I can remember their names. We was based on Aberdeen, called Aberdeen. Then we built one that was called Broadway. And I think the other one was called Blackpool. Yeah. And when we got to where the airstrip was, we made a bit of an airstrip for a light plane to come in, and they took some.
When you say light planes, would that be a Dakota or?
No, like a Lysander more or less.
Yeah.
And then we made arrangements to bring gliders in at a different part, because we knew these parts were open. And we marched off round where they were going to drop the gliders. And the Dakota was bringing in 2 gliders, and it just got enough fuel to bring the gliders in, release them and get back. But when we got to the place where they were landing, the Japs put all big trees and tree trunks in.
Yeah.
Because when the gliders come down, some were going into the jungle, and the first glider down, what was coming in was got a bulldozer in. Well, they just went right through everything when you get one of these. It was carnage. Oh, it never seemed like in your life.
Do you actually see the after effects of this then?
Oh yeah, we were there. And then after that, there's only one lot. I think some of them were Sherwood foresters that were in there, in that.
In the glider drop.
Glider, yeah. And various others. There's some Gurkhas there, I know that, and there's some West Africans as well. Obviously, you've got some come down, or I mean, they're probably tearing the wing off, but they kept going, and chaps inside shook up, and not damaged, but I mean, where this bulldozer was, it just went straight through the plane. And that was real carnage, that was. Chaps screaming and that. Anyway, that's one of the worst parts of it. And this bulldozer, they did manage to repair it and get it going, because then they used this place where it all happened. They made proper airstrips long enough for the Dakotas to come in, because that's when it coming in. One or two crashed. Well, you can see one there crashed, and then they used to come in. They take the wounded and the sick out. You know, they used to come in at night.
So, when was the first time that you actually encountered a Japanese? Then, when did you ever get involved in hand-to-hand fighting?
It was after we'd established Aberdeen, because they came to try and take it back, you see. And by this time, we'd got 4 Bofors guns in there.
They're anti-aircraft guns, aren't they?
Yeah. But they were dug in pits, level with the ground. And of course, when they didn't realise you've got any heavy artillery or anything like that. And
what did they have? Nothing. They could just.
They had machine guns and a couple of field guns, but the field guns were took out straight away with the Bofors, because we watched them setting these field guns up. Because when they got the order, the Bofors bloke opened up when they got all the time in the world. Nice dead target, boom, finished. So that was their first backward step sort of thing.
What were you armed with? What did you have as your weapon at that?
I went in with a Sting gun, but when we went to use them, they wouldn't go. They wouldn't go on automatic fire. They only go on single shot, because the big spring inside them, going in water, that were rusted. But you're on your single shot. And then once we got established with Airdome, well, not an airstrip, they brought in these American jungle rifles, carbines, and they were 15 shots in a clip. They were 2.2s bullets, about that long, thin. And they were up for a range of, say, 50 yards.
Well, they were light and easy.
Light and easy. Yeah, and all the Muleteers had those. We all had them. Whereas the ground troops, the infantry, they got their rifles. You know, snipers had got rifles with
sights,
telescopic sights. They'd also got grenade throwers and like 2-inch mortars. We had 2-inch mortars. And but we were mainly, after setting up the airdomes, was to cut off the supplies to the Hurricane and infill where they were trying to break through. Because when we went up to Lido, we thought we was going to come off this campaign, because to be reinforcements but Wingate didn't have it. When we actually broke through through the jungle, we got to the River Chinwin, and he came in and saw us on Chinwin.
How many were you there at that time?
About 1,000.
And he flew in, did he?
Yeah, he flew in.
Talk to you.
And he flew out, got killed.
What, from that very flight?
Yeah. Because when we when we heard he got killed, we thought we were away. I thought we were going back back the way we'd come, but no way. Carried on just the same. Because he was only more or less a figurehead.
But was there a great deal of affection for him?
Or everybody, everybody thought.
How did you know about him? Because, I mean, how many times did you meet him altogether?
Ooh, various times. Oh, yeah.
It
He was in the camp, training camp, on and off all the time.
All right, it wasn't just a case of
Oh,
flying
no,
in
not
speeches
no.
and then flying out again.
No, but he was planning everything from base, you know.
Yeah.
And every night on certain times, when we stopped, they'd set the wireless generators up and get them going. And they'd be in contact with.
Yeah.
give
You said he
report.
was as mad as a hatter. What makes you say that?
Well, he was. How can I? One incident for a start. We was in training, and one of the muleteers, he was a nasty tempered bloke anyway. He was having trouble moving. He belting this mule, and he saw him. He jumped in the river and had her up, staying up fire.
Wingate?
Yeah. But he wouldn't hold it against him.
Mm.
No. No.
He wasn't your conventional general then?
Oh, nowhere near. Oh, no. He was Jewish, you know.
Was it?
Oh, he was Jewish. Yeah, yeah.
What was it? Did he ever meet Montgomery? You said when Montgomery came in once.
No, Mountbatten.
Mountbatten.
Yeah, he came.
Mm.
That's before we went. Just before we when we had a pep talk off of him.
Off Mountbatten.
Yeah, no, off of
Wingate.
Wingate. When the car drew up, you know, all shiny and
Mountbatten cut out.
he says, "Well, I'm off. He'll tell you what to do."
Mm.
Off he went. Didn't. I don't know, what did he say? Oh, he says, "That puff's coming, so I'm off."
What, in front of everybody?
Yeah. What do you care about it? Well, no, when I say he was mad as that, I suppose it was the way he was. I mean, let's be honest. All our column commanders have got to be a bit balmy.
Mm.
I mean, our column commander was Brigadier Ferguson. Then the other column with us, because there were two columns together, had got Mad Mike Calvert.
Mm.
And both Ferguson and Calvert were colonels when they went in with Wingate on the first time in.
Mm.
And when they came out, they'd lost 2/3 of the people.
2/3 of the men.
I mean, we lost a hell of a lot through disease, you know. But when I say lost, they weren't lost, they were flown out, you know.
Mm.
And of course he got replacements coming in, and he didn't realise until, say, where's Smudger gone? He was missing.
Mm.
Until you got down just a few of the original people.
Mm-hmm.
Although the column was kept adding to, but they're flying in at night and joining up, you see.
Yeah.
But I suppose on the whole, it was an experience that you couldn't get other than in a war.
Mm.
I mean, the first time we got attacked, I'll tell you what, I tried to get lower than a snake. And I thought, oh, everybody was firing at me. They were about all the others. But this is your mental thing.
Was it a surprise attack? Yeah, a surprise attack.
Yeah.
And you suddenly heard what?
Well, everything
rockets
just opened
go
up.
Yeah.
Of course, you go to the ground, but try going to the ground with a mule. But wants to go the other way, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he's got ammunition on his back as well,
Well.
so you don't want to be anywhere near that.
Well, you see, this is what it was. When the Japanese could only go so far, I think it was the Tikla or something like Makara Manu, I can't think of that. And that's where the road and the rail finished in that part of Burma. And from there, they had to go through the jungle in supply, and they had mules. Of course, the idea being was to lay in wait, let the troops, because you got troops first, same as we did, troops by the side. But when you got to the mules, they what you had to hit because they were the supplies.
Yeah. So in a column of a force moving through the jungle, there'd be men at the front,
men at the back, then your mules,
then the mules, and then the men at the back.
Yeah. You see, and the men at the front, and men at the back, are supposed to protect the mules.
But they let the men at the front of the
You let the
column
fronts go through,
and then they'd open up on you lot.
and because it's chaos in for say 2 minutes, then you went. Before they'd got down to replying, you were off. And so it was like that. The soldier in the front and soldier back supposed to circle like that to encircle you. That was the theory. So you used to give it just one big, we used to call it a duffy, one big duffy. They only lost a minute, then you're off. But in that time, you probably shot up all the supplies to the front.
Yeah.
They weren't bothered about the actual soldiers. What they were bothered about was taking out the supplies. Because you could have 1,000 soldiers, if they haven't got any ammunition, they can't do anything. Other than...
So did your mule hit the ground as well? Did
no. No, the mule wanted to go the other way.
Yeah. And you just wanted to get down?
Well, well, it's like in London, when it was bombing, you went to the ground. As soon as they started bombing, you went flat on the floor, you know, because if you stood up, the shrapnel and stuff flying around, you copped it.
Yeah.
You got... yeah. I wet myself and shit myself.
Did you?
Yeah. Not ashamed, because I wasn't the only one.
Quite a lot would do, yeah.
Fear.
This is
well, you don't have control.
No.
You lose control. Through fear, it is fear, but you lose control. You got, and afterwards I can't describe how you feel afterwards. You know, to do that. You know, got no. You're that frightened, as I say. Lovely. I mean, we got attacked first. Before we done anything, we got attacked first, and it was our first real sound of battle. And it was all coming from their side, not us. Oh dear.
And when it all died down and you were able to sort of look around you?
Well, let's say it was panic at first. You went to the ground and the mule's running, so it's dragging you, so you get and run with it and out the way sort of thing. And of course some of them didn't, you know, some of them, because they were trying to do the same as what we did, what we used to do. But we hadn't done it, we'd been trained to do it, we'd done it in practice. But it was the first, they got us before they got, and that was due, I'm sure it was due to an airdrop.
Well, because you just picked up off an airdrop, had you?
Yeah.
And they've been able to locate you?
Yeah, well, there were quite a lot of forces in Burma, you know, different special forces and that, more towards the Chinese border as well. And they've got a Burmese army of Chins. They fought on the British side, and they were in the hills. And the Japs could never weed them out. Never did wheel them out. And thinking back, I think with the Chins there was a couple of nursing sisters with them, I think. Sure there was 2.
Mm.
Yeah. So, and they were in the order, they never even come out, they didn't, not till it finished. When they decided to pull our column out, we were flown out. And by this time, my mule, she had to be put down because they were injected a week before we moved, and if they got a sore coming on their anus, there was something wrong with them, and that had been put down because couldn't take because they were disease and wouldn't take them into.
Mm.
And I'd got that chap there. I'd got his pony then.
Oh, you were riding the pony.
Oh no, I was only. He rode it. I used to have to keep it clean, feed it, water it. But when we were being flown out, Bill Chapman, he went up the ramp with his mule, and this pony never had anybody at all, never. So I chucked my kit in and just walked up the ramp with this like this. The bloody thing bolted. So he chucked my kit out and said to me, "Go and fetch it. Catch the next plane." So the last words I said, because we always used to bed down together and everything, because that's, you never went one on your own. I mean, you went for water, you both went.
Mm.
And while you got the water, he was there.
Keep an eye out.
And last thing I said to him, save us a space. That was meant, somebody to bog down. And they ran into a storm. Well, I know they'd got, they were carrying flamethrowers. And they never did fire or anything about it, That was it. That's the first time I've been separated in 3.5 years.
First time you've been separated from Bill?
From one another in 3.5 years.
And the plane went missing?
Yeah. I walked and fetched a meal, brought it back. No more planes tonight, I go tomorrow. And I walked through a minefield, fetched it and brought it back and didn't know. So who's lucky?
Yeah.
Who's fated?
You could have been on that plane, just as easy as that.
Oh, well, it's only... That pony was as good as gold, never.
Never bought it before?
Never bought it before at all. No, next night, they said, "We'll put her on first, in case any trouble." She walked on as good as gold. No bother at all. It's the fact that the pony knew.
How did you find out about Bill?
Well, when we landed, and they took us by truck to a jungle place. I can always remember saying, "There's plenty of food, just go and get what you want, have what you want." There's this big place with, I thought, right, tin of peaches, we'll have some porridge, have some bacon. Don't think about the eggs. Anyway, I got all this stuff like that. Because I've been trying to find, he's been landed at another airport, another place, you see, because of the storm. And I'll make some lovely porridge, plenty of milk there. I started to eat, I was sick as a dog. Because all his stomachs, I wouldn't take it.
Oh, you've been living out in K rations for so long?
Oh, well, K ration, whatever you can get.
Yeah.
Full of dysentery.
What did you weigh then?
5 stone 7, something like that.
5 stone. Good.
I was exactly 11 stone when I went.
11 stone 5 for 8.5. And you were 5 stone 7 when you came out.
But I'd had dysentery for about 3 weeks.
Mm.
And the sick all started at the front. And it weren't long before you go in an hour and you were at the back. You always had a tough old soul in the back. He'd probably kick you up. Come on. If you stop there, you're going to die. Get up.
Wouldn't let you.
No, wouldn't let you stop. Because when you did stop, you're just exhausted.
Was Bill suffering as well? How had he taken the...
Oh, yeah, he got it and all.
Had he?
We
So
know
you-
how we got it. We'd been cut off from water. Now the Japs always rolled their dead in streams, ponds, to pollute it, down wells, anything, to pollute the water. No, we'd been cut off. And we in this dry riverbed, digging for, this is the Japanese mentality, trying to dig fine water. And if you go down far enough, you find something. And we're taking it in turns, digging place about big as that, you know. When the first person got water, Jeff's been sat up there watching us. Soon we got water, they opened up on us. So off we went again. And then when we finally did find a stagnant pool, it was bloody green. I can see him now, this officer. We all made a dash for it. Because the mules and animals smelt the water, and you can't hold them back. There's this officer, I'll shoot the man, first man who drinks out, and everybody's there. And that's where we all copped it. And we were just no good off that.
Yeah, sure, you reckon you both contracted dysentery that well?
Yeah, and a lot more. No, it was just a stagnant pool, you know. But water's water. You can go ages without eating, but you can't go without water. You know, you got your skin, it all comes up in little heat bumps, like the pores sort of swell and stand up. Your tongue gets thick. This is where I always poo-pooed the Bible. We're supposed to drink his own urine. You know, you couldn't breathe. You stopped sweating because the desire for water is far greater than the bullet off the officer. So
you're in pretty bad shape then when you came to come out?
They let us go. Because don't forget, for practically a year, we'd been in training. We've got no cookhouses or anything like that. You used to go and get your ass out to cook your own food and get your own water. And you used to sterilise your own water and everything like that.
So you've been in the jungle for a year?
No. We're taking the actual training and going in, coming out, would be about a year, I suppose. Well, I know even when we were being transported in the trucks, we're looking after ourselves, you know. I mean, it's surprised how a British soldier will find hot water, make tea for a start. I mean, in the trains, you know, the toilets were just round holes, because that's the Indian way. It's like two platforms, put your feet on and squat down. Well, round the packing cases, if you took the wire from packing cases, you could make a little grid, put it over the hole, make a fire. Like your water and 60. And because with it being old, got the air blew up lovely. It's like a blowtorch coming when it got going, you know. Oh, well. And you used to have tins of bacon. Round tin, you opened it, and all these streaky rashers, and it was just oil that come out. Although it's packed as grease, it come out oil. We used to go up and get the fireman, put him on his shovel and put him in the fire, bring out, got bacon. That's really travelling, like, you know.
So when you were coming out, you and Bill were looking forward to
Oh God,
a
yeah.
big slap up meal for the first time.
Yeah, that's what I say. The told you can't have any, and everybody's being sick because chapel.
They couldn't take it.
Because then we were debugged and hospitalised and everything, and put it on a hospital train.
How long was it before you knew what had happened to Bill?
About a week.
Mm.
First they said they'd lay another ear strip. Then, after so many days, they realised that neither plane or anybody's seen. And, that's it.
Yeah. It's a slow dawning realisation that he wasn't
And
from that.
It was more than losing a brother, I would say.
I was going to say, was it an emotional time?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, very emotional. Think what he'd gone through at the last bloody spot.
Mm.
I wouldn't believe it at first. He'll turn up, he always turn up, you know. So, but also there was good times, you know.
Had Bill come from the same part of London? as
No,
yourself?
he come from Bow.
Oh, right. Is it a real East Ender then?
Oh yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Real Cockney he was.
Yeah. Did he have any family himself? Did he talk about his family?
Yeah, he got a family, 2 children. When I come over, when I saw him, you know.
Did you?
But by that time, she was already married to somebody else, you know. So,
It took you quite a while to get back, didn't it? And
Oh, yeah.
recuperated.
yeah, because I was in hospital months because they couldn't cure my dysentery.
Yeah.
And I put on a train. They come to the conclusion I needed a better climate, you know. I was put on a train to go to South Africa because the climate was better than what it was in India. And on the way I got yellow jaundice. So it takes me off the train, put me in an ambulance, took me to Pune. And the jaundice cured the dysentery they couldn't cure.
Did it?
Yeah. So I never did go to South Africa again, but I was in Pune for about 4 months. Yeah.
In recuperation.
Yeah.
What year was this now? 45?
Yeah, 45.
The
I remember I'd got back to our unit. They told me I wouldn't go in again. So they gave me a job behind the bar in the sergeant's mess.
Mhm.
Best job I had in my life, that was. And I remember we were still in this training camp where we got the knowledge about the atom bomb.
Oh, that hadn't gone off yet then?
No, and I think everybody was stunned and shocked.
Did you not know what it was? Did they talk about it as the atom bomb or just the bomb?
Yeah. Well, they announced it as destroyed Nagasaki in one blow. Then the following day, in the news, it was Hiroshima. Then I think it was 5 days after that they backed in.
Where were you then? Were you working behind the bar at Puna?
Oh yeah. No, I wasn't in Pune. I'd gone back to the jungle training camp because they were training up to release the prisoners of war.
Mm-hmm.
But I was told I wouldn't go in. I was too rotten, I think.
Had you put any weight back on by then?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I got back to my normal weight of about 10 stone.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd put weight on in training. You know, muscle and
Yeah.
things like that. Because sometimes you march 24 hours, non-stop. Well, when I say non-stop, you used to stop every hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you stopped, you lay back on the floor like this and put your legs up in the air like that. To,
Let the blood flow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And in your K rations, you used to get, each K ration, you got 4 American cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Lucky Strike, various, sorts, Camels and,
Mm-hmm.
And in training it was lovely because we got 3 of these for every day. Morning, dinner, and tea, sort of supper, sort of thing. But the only thing was, they all tasted of spearmint.
Didn't
Everything tasted of spearmint. And got that sort of taste,
they? Yeah.
Even the meats. And there was like Spain stuff. Looked like Spain, ain't it? Still, it tasted like a spearminty taste.
Yeah.
Because, I suppose Americans like that taste, I don't know.
Yeah. Different.
But anyway, because this was the object going in, being supplied by air. Well, their packs were made up to take 7 days rations,
Mm.
which was 21. Well, I don't think, after stepping off from Lido, once, we stepped off with 7 days supply then, and I don't think it was once we had 7 days supply of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because dropping by air, they had to come in fairly low, especially when the animal feeds come out. They come around right low,
Yeah.
perhaps 200 foot above the ground, drop and just kick the stuff out. But they had to go higher for parachuting the stuff down, because if there's any wind or anything, it floats away.
Mm-hmm.
And because it had to be shared out what they got.
Yeah.
Oh, many a day we had just 1 K ration for the day,
Yeah.
And it's up to you how you had it, whether you had it in the morning, dinner or not. Oh, others.
So when you came back, which is coming to the end of the tape now, so we'll have to call it quits. But you've actually taken us all the way through the war, and got yourself back into
Back
home.
And,
was that when you were demobbed then? Were you?
I was still in the sergeant's mess
Yeah.
when
When the
I
bomb-
got repatriated.
Mhm.
And that night they had a party, and they had a big cake made like a ship. And because I was blotto,
Mm.
they put it on my bloody chest and set it alight. And I didn't know that. And when I come round, there's all this cake all over me. Oh, they give me a good send-off.
I suppose you cared then.
No, we're going home. Yeah.
Thanks, Len. That's been smashing.
Oh, good.
Really good. I'm really glad we got that down on tape. Thanks a lot.
It's the first time I've ever done anything like this.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of the things you try to shut out. Not the going in, but different things happen. When I hear babies screaming,
Mm.
that can upset me because it sounds like
And then,
somebody's got their stomach shot out, something like, not dead, but all the entrails hanging out,
yeah.
screaming. And another thing, smell of burnt flesh. You know, flamethrowers, you know. Because he used to use them on the bunkers and that. Where they were bunkered in, you put flamethrower in it. And this thing I should have told you, on these jungle tracks, the main jungle tracks, what the Japs use, every bend, you've got a foxhole in the ground. Every bend. As you come to a bend, a big foxhole down. And if it was around like that, it'd be another one that side. Every bend there was foxhole. Which we could use as well as them.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But on the whole, it's it's experience, a thing that we couldn't get unless there was a war.
Yeah.
And let's hope we never have it again. And having said that, it's been going ever since, isn't it? There's always something going on.